Vita-Prep equipment provides a wide variety of techniques and recipe potential, which are great tools to help you create things. But some recipes are a little bit more difficult than others, and that's what we wanted to talk about in this segment. So when you're doing recipes that are higher difficulty, those are going to be more dense recipes. So if you're thinking of, from a food prep standpoint, something thick like hummus. From a beverage standpoint, you think something more along the lines of like a smoothie bowl, an acai bowl, sorbet, along those lines. So when you've got something that difficult, you really want to dial in your technique, your holding temperatures, your recipe ratios and measurements. So you're making it as optimized as possible, and that's going to help speed of service, that's going to help the length of the equipment, and generally to make a more pleasant environment for the employees to work in. So from a Vita-Prep 3 standpoint, if you're going to do something like a hummus, you do need a certain amount of liquid in it. So if you're just to throw chickpeas or garbanzo beans in there, there's a lot of starch, and those are actually going to absorb whatever liquids you put in there for the most part. So you want to make sure that's optimal from a ratio standpoint. You also are going to want to limit yourself to the bottom section of the blending container. So think in that 2 to 3 cup range is really probably where you should be when you're doing things that are thicker in that dip or spread type of consistency. Also, the speed that you're operating at from the motor speed is going to play a part in how smoothly things work out. So not only is using faster speeds going to help process and break things to a smoother consistency more quickly, it's also better for cooling. So the fan on the machine is actually attached to the same drive shaft as the blades are. So the slower the blades turn, the slower that fan is turning, and the less or more it's going to exhaust the heat and cool that motor effectively. So what you want to do is start that machine, run it all the way up to 10 and flip it to high. That's going to be the most effective cooling. In addition to running at those high speeds with a controlled yield, you're also going to want to use the Tamper or accelerator tool. And that basically is going to help when there isn't enough physical movement in the recipe because of liquid. You're going to be able to push those ingredients into the blade to help really process things out uniformly and more quickly. And because you have the lid secure, that tamper is not going to go into the blades, but it does ride just above them, so you get a really good process standpoint. If you're using something that is not a unit that has a tamper, we also offer options that will still process those things out, but the difficulty level needs to be even more maintained because we don't have the outside application of a tamper. So when you move to something like the Quiet One, it has the exact same motor as what the Vita-Prep 3 does, but it is really built to do blending inside of an enclosed chamber. So everything should be dialed in ahead of time. Temperature standpoint, if you're thinking about smoothie bowls, you don't really want to set your freezers any colder than what they would be for a normal frozen fruit smoothie. So you want that to be at least 0 degrees Fahrenheit, maybe a little bit warmer. From a ratio standpoint, a lot of frozen fruit smoothies are pretty close to a 50% liquid, 50% solid ratio. This, you don't want to drop too far down in that ratio. So I would say you'd want to target probably 30% liquid to 70% solids for that recipe. And you might need to slightly adjust that depending on the ingredient's unique characteristics. So for example, apple juice has natural sugars in it. If you were to use that as a base for your smoothie bowl, that would make that bowl a little bit easier to process. If I were to use the exact same amount and temperature of coconut water as the liquid, the lack of sugar in coconut water is going to freeze up a little bit quicker. So the difficulty of that recipe is just naturally a little bit more difficult, even though all the ingredients would be the same gram weight if you broke them out. So it's important to make sure everything is dialed in from a measurement standpoint, and as well as the program, the options that are on there. So there's 34 different programs that come on a Quiet One. It is custom programmable, and we do have specific programs that are called out for different smoothie bowls. And there may be other programs that are called out for difficult smoothies that would work well with a smoothie bowl. The real challenge is just making sure everything is dialed in from your setup in terms of holding temperature, and the recipes are really built optimally, and the machines themselves will continue to process at that high level.